Hey there. If your accounting firm feels like it's just running on a treadmill, working harder and harder but not really moving forward, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down how to escape what we call the productivity trap and build a firm that can actually scale. Let's jump right in. So what is this grind we're even talking about? Well, it's that feeling of being constantly busy, maybe even bringing in good money, but you're not really making any progress. Let's take a look at why that's happening.
This question probably hits home for a lot of you. You've got tons of clients, revenue is flowing, but your team, they're completely overwhelmed. And the partners are buried in the day-to-day instead of looking at the big picture. That right there is the classic sign of a bottleneck.
See, the way most firms try to grow is actually a dead end. We call it the productivity trap. It goes like this. You get more clients, which means more work, which creates more pressure. And the only solution seems to be, working more hours. But you just can't keep adding hours forever. That's not a strategy. Sooner or later, you're going to hit a wall.
So where does all that precious time actually go? Well, it gets completely drained by these essential but, let's be honest, non-strategic tasks. Things like reconciling data, hunting down documents, and just grinding through repetitive compliance work. Your best people, your highly skilled professionals, get bogged down in this stuff. Yeah, it has to get done, but it's not what builds a scalable business. You're busy, but you're not really growing.
So how in the world do you break the cycle? Well, the single most effective lever modern firms are pulling is outsourcing their core operations. This is all about strategically handing off those foundational, super time-consuming tasks. Okay, let's start with a process that plays a way bigger role than most people realize: inventory reconciliation. I know, it sounds a little dry, but it is the absolute bedrock of financial accuracy for any client who deals with physical products. Getting this right? It's totally non-negotiable.
And when this goes wrong, oh boy, the consequences are serious. We're talking inaccurate financials, major tax problems, and even huge audit risks. These are the kinds of mistakes that can stay hidden for months, and then they pop up right when they've become a massive problem. Outsourcing just makes sure this foundational piece is handled perfectly, right from the start.
And here's another one of those invisible tasks that eats up a crazy amount of time and energy: tax documentation. On the surface, it doesn't seem that complicated, but collecting all the forms, verifying every little detail, it becomes this massive, repetitive time drain, especially when you're in the thick of tax season.
Just look at the difference here. The transformation is night and day. Before, your team is literally drowning in paperwork. After, they're freed up to focus on high-value analysis and real client strategy. This means you get faster turnarounds, way fewer errors, and a system that's organized all year long, not just during that mad dash for tax season. Of course, all this raises a pretty big question. Who's actually doing all this work? With hiring being one of the biggest headaches in the industry right now, offshore staffing has become the clear answer. It lets you build a dedicated remote team to handle things like bookkeeping, payroll, and tax prep, all without the nightmare of local recruiting. Now this is where it gets really, really powerful. See, outsourcing isn't just about getting work off your plate. It's about creating the space and the capacity for your firm to evolve into something much more valuable.
It's so important to remember this. Compliance work pays the bills, absolutely, but it doesn't drive long-term growth. The real opportunity, the thing that makes your firm truly indispensable to your clients, is moving into advisory and strategic tax planning.
An offshore team can support all these high-level services. They can handle the heavy lifting on research and analysis for things like tax scenarios, complex deduction strategies, and forecasting. This frees up your in-house team to become those true strategic advisors who help clients make smarter decisions all year round, not just when it's time to file. So, what's the secret sauce that makes all this so efficient today? It's technology. Modern outsourcing is supercharged with tools like NLP, or natural language processing. Just think of it like an AI that can read and understand a financial document just like a person would, but, in a fraction of a second. It's a pretty simple process, but it is a total game changer. The software scans the documents, it pulls out the key data, and it just massively reduces manual data entry. And when you combine that kind of powerful automation with a dedicated outsourced team, you create a workflow that is incredibly fast, accurate, and consistent. So, when you put all these pieces together, the impact isn't just a little improvement here and there. It's a total transformation of how your firm actually works. Operationally, all that chaos turns into a streamlined machine. Just think about it. Processing cycles get faster, which makes the month-end close a routine thing instead of a frantic fire drill. And with better control over your documents, you are directly lowering your compliance risk.
And the financial impact? It's immediate. You lower your overhead, your staffing costs become predictable, and that flows right to your profit margins. But maybe the best part is that you get to escape that constant expensive cycle of recruiting, hiring, and training for support roles.
But here's what I think is the most important change of all: the strategic impact. With all that operational stuff handled, your team finally has the time and energy for that high-value advisory work. Scaling up for tax season is no longer something you dread. Team burnout just plummets. And as a result, your clients get way better service, and their satisfaction goes through the roof.
Okay, so at this point, you're probably wondering, is this actually the right path for my firm? Let's tackle a couple of the most common questions and worries people have. This is it. This is the #1 fear we hear about outsourcing every single time. Does handing off work to an external team mean you have to give up control?
The answer is a clear and simple no. You keep full control. A good outsourcing partner doesn't force their system on you. They learn and adopt your system. They're logging into your cloud software, using your project management tools, and communicating on your terms. They adapt to you, not the other way around. They become a seamless extension of your firm.
All right, the second big myth is that this whole strategy is just reserved for the big players. You know, the giant national firms with massive budgets. Actually, the exact opposite is true. Small and mid-sized firms often see the biggest benefits because outsourcing lets them get the capacity and the efficiency of a much larger firm, but without all the massive overhead and investment. It's really a way to level the playing field.
At the end of the day, real sustainable growth doesn't come from just running faster on that treadmill. It comes from building smarter systems that let your team focus on what they do best. The final question really isn't whether you can afford to do this, it's whether you can afford not to.